Hi, Wayne here at the Root River Rodco. We're continuing on with our series of tying the life cycle of Midge. We're going to have a little fun, though, with this fly. This is a size 30. Yes, a size 30. It's microscopic. But I have been out during midge emergencies where 30s are coming off and the fish will focus on them and they won't eat a 28 for the life of you because it's just bigger. It's about 30% bigger. And this is a good example of when you are in a situation where there is an emergence going on and the fish are focused on a particular stage of the emergence and size, that they will get so focused that they will ignore everything to the left or to the right of exactly what they're looking at. And when they're looking at size 30s, that means 26s and 28s, they're too big. It's going to be like having a size 10 humpy come down. They just won't touch it. But we're going to tie one. We're going to do this mostly for fun. But also, this is a legitimate strategy. I carry these flies with me all the time and have used them where appropriate and have caught fish. And let me tell you, it's quite fun to set up on a fish that's rising to size 30s. Get one on the end of your line, make a good presentation, and have them eat it and land it. That's pretty cool. So. We're going to go on and tie this fly right now. So this is what we got. This is what it looks like. It's a shuttlecock, and we did one. We already did a shuttlecock, but we did it in a size 22, which is huge compared to this. But a size 22s, 24s are more common in the winter. We really get the super small stuff in the summertime. One of the great challenges with putting on a size 30 is actually the hardest part is getting it in the vise. Once you get it in the vise, you're home free. So I am going to just do anything to get it into the vise and get it secured. And then once I do that, see, I've got it in there a little bit like this. I'm just going to put my hand on it, stabilize it, and rotate it a bit to where I get it into the right position for me, and it came out here. This is all part of the small stuff, guys. There we go. There we go. Size 30 in the vise. Now, the most important thing about tying a size 30 is to understand that it can sense fear. If you are apprehensive, if you are hesitant, you're going to have a hard time. You have to address this fly like it's a size 10, like you've tied hundreds of them already in the past. And if you don't do that, it's going to get the best of you, because it's gotten the best of me too. And that's the best way to attack this thing, is just like you're tying a size 10 parachute Adams. So we're just going to get the thread on here, just working very carefully and very confidently. There we got the thread on. And we can even still use the technique where we pull back a little bit with the thread to get some tension and then pull here and it just breaks right off, even on a size 30. You can use these same techniques. You just have to be careful. You have to understand how the hook works and how it flexes and all that kind of stuff. But once you understand that, you can use all your techniques on here, as you just saw. I'm not doing anything different just because it's a size 30, except I'm a little more focused so I can see. Now, one of the things with these small flies, a lot of times you'll on a larger fly, and I'm going to grab some of the silver ribbing here, we might want to, attach it down here. That's tough for the size 30 because you got your fingers and everything, and a lot of this gets in the way. So what I do is I attach most of my materials up by the eye and then walk them down the shank. That way I've got room to attach the material. I can get my fingers in here besides the shank like this, nice and comfortable. Or down here at the bend, it's not so comfortable. And then I can just, let me just rearrange this in my fingers here to get it how I want. And you see, I want to just lay against the hook shank here. Right like that. We attach it, 1 wrap, 2 wraps secures it. And then remember from the other videos, we're just going to gently pull that to length, just like with any other fly. So now I got it pulled to length. I'm going to want it on the far side. That's my personal preference. And I'm going to come here. I can see that it's the tinsel is kind of on top of the hook shank, and I don't want it there. I want it on the side, so I'm going to come in here, my thumbnail, give it a little pinch and a little roll. And then I'm going to use thread tension. See that? I'm using tension to pull it over on the other side of the hook. Tension, tension. That's how I get it to where I want it to go. I hold it here to give it control, and then thread tension rolls it over on the other side of the hook. Understanding thread tension is a huge step from a beginner to a good solid intermediate fly tire. And then I'm just going to work that thread all the way back up the shank. And then I'm just going to take that wire and I'm going to wrap it on like I would wrap on anything else. But, you see here, I've got, everything's small here, so things are in the way. You just have to take your time. You notice I'm not carrying my scissors. It's a little too much for a small fly to be carrying your scissors with all this. I mean, you can, but it's going to get in the way when you want to start moving the thread out of the way here like that, so I can move this tinsel up the hook shank here, just very carefully. Under tension, there you go. Open that a little bit better there. Yeah, more like that. And you can see how it kind of jumped. You see how I had the ribbing of that last wrap, it kind of jumped back towards the other wrap. That's because where I am on the position of the hump of the hook here, and that because of the way that I have to manipulate this wire around the shank, I have a tendency to pull it down. You see how it's pulling across here? What you want to do is make sure you pull it up to this other direction. See that? Now I don't have that issue. That's one of the things when you're tying small flies to watch out for. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to catch it. And obviously I've got a very small eye I've got to be careful of and protect. So I am not going to wind this thread towards the eye. I'm going to wrap it back over the hook shank, back towards the bend, because I want to preserve that eye, because that's real easy to cover that up. And just to show what you can do, even though this is a size 30, I can pull that wire back and do a double wrap. See? Secure it that way. Don't let the size of the hook intimidate you and let that hook shank control what you can and cannot do in terms of technique. You can do almost anything. You just have to work a little slower and maybe be just a little bit more precise than what you had to be on bigger flies. But it's all good because, fly tying's all about precision. If you're ever going to graduate into doing like full-dressed Atlantic salmon flies and things like that, that whole game is full of nothing but precision. So you see here, so now I got a nice flat ramp to put on my CDC for my shuttlecock. Turn this into a shuttlecock. Of course, this is going to represent the insect as it's emerging out. We're going to prep the feather the way that we prep the feather for size 20. You want to hold it down here at the base and then stroke these fibers forward And then as these other fibers fall aside, we want to pull them back. We get them out of the way. And that way we're working with just all the fibers that are going to be involved with the fly. Now this one, again, because we're working with such a small hook, we're not going to get too crazy about attaching this to the shank and then pulling it to length. We're going to cut this to length. It's just much easier and simpler, and it's also faster, because if you get into a lot of primping on these small flies, you're gonna have problems. So we're going to attach it, the pinch wrap, at an angle. We want it down at a 45 degree. If you can, get it in there so your finger and your thumb can feel the hook shank, the CDC feather, and the thread all at the same time. I know it's hard to see what's going on behind here, but I can feel the thread and and the shank and the material all together. So here's my pinch wrap. I just want to get this onto the hook because it's so small. 2 wraps. Yes, it's close to the eye, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab the stem, then I'm going to grab up high here. I'm going to lift, then I'm going to drop that back down. Then I'm going to give it a wrap, and then I'm going to check it. See, I've got just enough there for a whip finish. I'm going to want to elevate that a little bit more. I want it back away from the eye a little bit more. Lift it there, and then watch when I tighten it, I'm going to pull away from the eye. If I pull towards the eye, that thread can hop and then go back down onto that space on the eye and crowd the eye. So anytime you're tying small flies, pay attention to your thread, what direction you're tightening and loosening in, because the smaller the fly, the more important that is. As you can see, I'm pulling it off and I'm pulling it away. And then when I do my second wrap, I'm doing the same thing. So I'm not crowding the eye. You can see when I'm up here, I got plenty of space for the eye, on the eye. And I come in here with my thumb nail and I give it a little stick in there. And I'll just loosen that up. We'll get that back in there and tighten it up. So I'm going to unwrap that. And here's one of the things that is a curse of a left-handed tyer. You see how the thread is splitting and opening up here? That's because when I'm tying counterclockwise, which is always opening up the thread. So I'm going to spin this clockwise on my side to tighten that up a bit, because I don't want that flat thread, because it takes up a lot of real estate on this very small hook shank. So I want to be kind of a little bit corded like that, you see? And then I come back up here, and then I have a little bit more control over that. And then I'm going to come in with my nail gently. Whew. All right, all that's good. Now, all right, so you can see that I used a little bit of moisture on my fingers to kind of stand everything up and to collect those CDC fibers into a central point. I'd like those all into a central point for when I make my final wrap here. Around. There you go. So now I've got that CDC feather bound by a single wrap underneath the shank here. And you can see that gives me the real estate for my eye. Also secures that shuttlecock feather, CDC feather in there really nice. One more wrap will seal that in there very well. And so we're done with that. And we're going to apply a little bit of dubbing just for the thorax. You don't really need it when you're this small, but we're going to do it just to show that we can do it. A little bit of squirrel. This is very fine squirrel. Just dub a little bit on here. Definitely a little's going to go a long way on here. Let me just move that up. One of the things here's another little tip for when you're dubbing. You don't have to dub up by the shank here. You can dub way down here where you got plenty of room and you're away from the shank, and then hold that material up and just push it up the shank like that. See? Got total control over it. Now I'm going to bring my bobbin up, and we're going to just do a couple of wraps here. And then again, we want to wrap back towards the bend of the hook, because as if we wrap towards the eye, again, as I've said before, we're going to crowd that eye. So there we are. Just a little bit of dubbing. We've got our wing set. We got this one little rogue fiber there. We're not going to really worry about that too much because I'm going to gather that up when I do the whip finish, which I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to make one wrap in front. And I can see that one wrap sets underneath that CDC feather and gives me the clear access to the eye of the hook. I'm going to do a whip finish. I'm pulling it off to the side here because I'm a bit declining. As you can see, the hook's going down this way in the eye. So I want to grab it. And then there's my little X. And then I just do 1, 2, 3. No more than that. Don't need a lot. I'm going to pull it back gently, letting it just slip through my fingers. All right. And then I'm just going to slightly put pressure on this to make sure it sets. Set pretty good in there. Come up and give it a snip. I'm going to snip this off, this back part, real close, this little extra CDC. That's good. And when it's this small, what I do is, I'm left-handed and right-handed too. I'm kind of ambidextrous. What I'll do is I'll just put some tension on that fiber, and then I'll just take my scissors and kind of follow that down with the blade, and then give it a snip right there. And it pops off. Now we just give it a little primp here, and a little primp there. And we're just, you don't need to do this, but I'm a tire, so I got to get rid of that little straggly bit there. You guys can't even see it, but it's driving me crazy. And that is a size 30 shuttlecock that will be the answer to all of your prayers during the summer when you see a very, very small midge hatch and you're wondering what fly to put on to solve the problem. There you go. This is Wayne from Root River Rod Co. See you out in stream.